until I thought, what is my superpower? And almost every superpower I could imagine that I might have, it's like as quick as I thought, oh, maybe my superpower is this, there was like something in my brain that debunked it and was like, no, no, that's not really your superpower.
I mean, it's almost like the Spider-Man thing, right? Like with great power comes great responsibility. Like your superpowers
Totally.
can also
Yeah,
be what makes you a villain.
I have to get alone and I have to get where it's really quiet and dark because there's so much information coming in that it's just massively overwhelming to me. And so these things that seem to be, potentially my superpowers also sometimes cause me a lot of pain.
What do you guys think is, like, if you don't know what your superpowers are, how would you go about figuring that out?
What I've found is that it's along the journey that you realize what your superpower is, because your superpower, I believe, is the thing that will get you to exactly where you want to be in life. And to find it, you have to have an idea of exactly what you want in life.
Realize that we have these special gifts and these special powers that we all need from each other.
Have you ever wondered what makes you truly unique? What if I told you that you have a superpower, a strength so natural, so powerful that it can change your life and the lives of those around you? In today's episode of the Evolving Mindsets podcast, we're talking about real-life superpowers, not flying or X-ray vision, but the special abilities that make you stand out. Whether it's creativity, problem solving, leadership, or something else entirely, your superpower is waiting to be unlocked. Stick around as we uncover how to recognize your strengths, embrace your gifts, and step fully into your power.
Hey, welcome back to the Crack the Code podcast. This is Clint Baggett, your host, here with Shannon and Shane. And today we want to talk about superpowers. What is your superpower? What are our superpowers? Do we have superpowers? Does everyone have a superpower? That's the question we want to crack the code to. We want to figure out. So before the episode, Shannon and Shane and I did a little test just to have some fun. And we decided to write down what we think each other's superpowers are or might be, and what we think our own superpower might be. So we want to share those. We haven't shared them with each other yet. And we're going to share them with each other now and kind of find out, what do we think our superpower is? What do we think other people's superpowers are? What do you think your superpower is? Do you know anyone with a superpower? If you do, tell us about it in the comments below. Okay, so guys, you got your lists. We all have our superpowers decided or identified as we think they might be.
Yep. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I know. This is it. Like, if I could see you, we'd do rock, paper, scissors. Should we go with all three, or should we pick a person and we all kind of share the superpower for that person? What do you guys think?
I like that. We could, like,
All right.
pick a person and go with that. I think that works.
All right, y'all start with me.
Oh, look at this. He's like, let's get it over. Okay.
Well, no, because man, this was a tough question. It really, there's a lot to boil down with you guys in here. So just,
Well, it was a tough question, but you know what I found is it was a tough question, but not for the reasons one might think. It wasn't tough. Well, it wasn't tough for me when it came to you guys to think of superpowers, because it's just like this list started rattling off my head.
Yeah.
Like, here's all the things they're great at. Until I thought, what is my superpower? And almost every superpower I could imagine that I might have, it's like as quick as I thought, oh, maybe my superpower is this, there was like something in my brain that debunked it and was like, no, that's not really your superpower. Or, so I ended up just kind of, getting lost in it. But, what brought before we get into this, and then I'll share first, Shane, what I think your superpower is, and Shannon, you can go, and then Shane, maybe you can tell us what you think yours is, and we'll go around like that. But just before that, what kind of prompted all this was, we were talking about, let's do a podcast on superpowers. And it reminded me of this one time where my daughter Elliot came to me and said, and she said, "Dad, look what I drew on the whiteboard." And she drew two hearts with some stick figures in them and said, "Mom and Dad" underneath it. And I was like, "What is that?" And she goes, "I drew your superpowers." So, in her way of expressing herself, I think she's about 7 at the time. She had drew hearts with stick figures in them, representing that she, loved us and loved our superpowers. And so the stick figures and the hearts were doing different things. And I pointed at Shannon's and I was like, "Well, what's mom doing? And what's her superpower?" And it was one big stick figure giving a heart to a little stick figure inside there. And she goes, "Well, mom takes care of us. And, she always knows what we need and she loves us and like she helps us. That's her superpower." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And I was thinking, that's beautiful. And then I look over at the other stick figure where I'm at and it's like a stick figure with it like legs crossed. I'm like, "Well, what's my superpower?" And she goes, "You can keep calm and meditate." I'm like, "Okay, like I'll take that." But it was interesting to hear how, she perceived our superpowers. So that kind of sparked up this thought, like, how do we perceive our own superpowers and how do we perceive the superpowers of each other? So, Shane, when I was thinking about what your superpowers are, one, and I think this may be true of all of us, I think that we're all magnificent manifestors, like really powerful manifestors. And I think that works in our favor sometimes and against our favor sometimes, depending on what we're thinking is happening. But I found this kind of thing with you. It's like I battled between two for number one. And one, I'd have to say, like, maybe if I had to give one, your biggest superpower to me is like a relentless sense of enthusiasm. Like you're always super passionate and super into whatever it is that you're into. Like you fully, just dive in with your thought, your heart, your soul. You put your mind into it. You're willing to overlook the possibility of something just for the probability that, like, if you put your heart into it, it'll happen. And we talked about this. You've done some amazing things that honestly nobody thought was possible. And you pulled it off, which was really, really incredible. And I believe that has a lot to do with just your enthusiastic commitment to and passion to things. The second place, the one that would be a close tie, and by very close, I mean it was hard for me to decide, was communication. Right, you're really good at communicating thought. I mean, it really shows through in your poetry. Again, it's that passion and that enthusiasm comes out in language, and you write some really incredible poems. So that's what I thought. Shannon, what did you think?
No, I'm right there with you on the enthusiasm thing with Shane. I wrote that down too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it should be said, like, I don't know, well, Shane, like we've just, just in the past like few months where we've been spending a lot of time on the phone, the three of us, is probably like the most time I've really gotten to spend with you and get to know you. But like the enthusiasm for sure, like just shines through. I also put that see the good in everyone. Like it just comes out in how he talks about people
Yeah, totally.
and just even talks, even talks to you. I also wrote, Shane, that you have a way with words and you're poetic even when you're just talking. And
Wow.
I
So
think,
true.
yeah, I think you're a true poet at heart. And
Wow.
the other thing that I put about you is you, I think you make people feel seen. I know you make me feel seen. And I
Oh,
think
wow.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, what did you find for yourself?
Or he can sit with what we said
No,
for a
Oh,
minute if
yeah,
he
yeah,
needs it.
sure, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well,
Me too.
like, do you agree with what we said? Do you
no,
notice
no,
that
I
in
totally
yourself?
do. Like, that was so cool, you guys. Like, gosh, like, wow. Like, So insightful.
Or maybe before we share our own, Shannon and
Okay,
Shane, you guys want to share what you think of me, and then we'll share what we think Shannon. Then we can do what we thought of ourselves. Maybe that would be
let's do
a
that.
little more fair. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, you guys hit me next.
All right. So, I mean, these all kind of go together, and I didn't put them in any order, but it just is what it is. Clint, like, just you've been a leader to me and a mentor since I first met you. Uh, you were my boss, and you believed in me and helped me develop my strengths and weaknesses. Uh, and you, I mean, I tripled my income. Like, just a lot of things happened from that. So leadership for certain is up there. You're a guardian and a mentor and a guide and a visionary and an inspiration. I mean, to everyone. I mean, like I know so many people that have crossed your path, and you help them, and you love everyone, and you also see the good in everyone, and help people focus on what's best, and you know,
Yeah. No, thank you, man. Wow, I really, really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah,
it's,
did you have any more, Shane?
no,
Before
no,
going? Oh, okay.
good.
Um, yeah, no, I agree with that. In regards to Clint, um, one of the things for me that I noticed the most is like, Clint, you can see every angle of a
Yeah,
situation before I can even like finish analyzing one side of it. And
yeah,
it's
that's good.
like,
Yeah, that's real
y-
good.
yeah, so you just kind of have a knack to kind of like really run through like a full analysis of any situation very
Yeah,
quickly.
that's true.
Yeah.
Oh
Freak,
Um,
wow.
freakishly awesome at that.
yeah, right? Like it's really trippy.
It
And
is
it's mildly
trippy.
frustrating. It's like, whoa, slow down. Like I'm still working on the first side.
we
um,
oh, good.
oh, I was gonna say, you you emit like energy just oozes out of you. And I think like because of that, people are generally drawn to you when like we're out and about. Like people just sort of naturally gravitate towards you.
Totally.
Um yeah, it's like it's really fun to see that you just
Yeah,
sort of you're very like magnetic. You have a
yeah.
pull.
It- it's you're like there. You've never met a stranger, and you identify with everyone, and everybody identifies with you. You know, like that. You just have a common denominator with every being. In my experience, I'm sure there's maybe one out there, possibly that wouldn't feel the same. But other than that, like everyone, everywhere we've ever been together or whatever, I agree with Shannon.
Oh man. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Like it's interesting how like it's it feels great, but it's almost mildly uncomfortable hearing all of that, like in this weird way. Like it's like, wow, thanks. I'm like, man, this is getting really gushy and but so much wow, I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, there's some bits of that that I don't know if I would have seen myself. I've started to notice the magnetic thing more and more. Even recently, I mentioned being at like Burning Man, just standing in a crowd and having people just come up to me who had never met me, and they're like, "Can I stand near you? I just feel safe for when I'm close to you." And I'm like, "Oh wow!" They're like, "Sure, I'm just hanging out." But so yeah, no, thank you for that. I really, really appreciate that. And Shannon, what you were saying about me like seeing every ankle, it's interesting because when was thinking about what I thought your superpowers were, it's almost the opposite, but in a different way. I feel like you can find things I can't see.
Yeah.
right? Like maybe because I am looking at everything from all angles. It's like because you're looking at it directly, you'll see the details I miss. And
Yeah.
like and it goes beyond just that. I mean, that's just like helpful to me, but it's like you can find anything. Like if you're looking for it, I don't even know if it has to exist. I think if you just start looking for it, it manifests. It's like there in front of you. Like I'm just like, how does she just always find everything she's looking for so fast? And it's incredible. And I'm like, I can't do that. I go looking for something, and maybe it's because I'm seeing everything all at once. Like I'm like, I can't find anything. I just it's not happening. But and then beyond this unhuman, ability to just, I call it, see the unseen. You also like, and maybe it's because you see the unseen, people seem to like, it emanates a certain sense of compassion because when someone's looking directly, I think maybe it is seeing the unseen. You see the unseen parts of a person maybe that they don't even see. I've seen this with you, is that people, like you said, Shane, feel really seen in your presence. They feel really like noticed and acknowledged, and people, like when they respond to you, they see you as powerful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I I think, I mean, patience for sure is in there. Just knowing Clint and knowing that you're married to him,
Yeah. Right.
that might be like I don't know, supernatural superpower or something. But um, and in that also, uh, you just there's unconditional love in there for the deserving. I mean, I would hate to have somebody like not be right with you. I would run, but you the for the people that are deserving, unconditional love and compassion for them, but also you're just
Almost like
real.
relentless love, right? Like, and I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
that I would run from you part is, it's fierce love. Like she loves like a
yes,
tiger.
it
Yeah.
is like mom power and just like the good stuff. And I don't know. Also, you have like a super objective like perspective, and you're just super logical. But for me, also something that I mean, I feel like Clint's been sandbagging. But when I saw your artwork, uh, I think there's something there. Maybe that's a gift of your superpowers. But your artwork is amazing, man. And
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
know it's
beautiful.
really good. Yeah. So you know, I mean, the that ability and you're just you're like an anchor, and I don't know, keep everybody on the path and pointing it in the best direction. And, you can see everybody's what they're, you understand or respect what people are trying to say and process it. But at the same time, um, you also offer, the devil's advocate, you always say, and you always have another, useful angle to see things at, like Clint was just saying, the other little pieces that maybe we aren't seeing.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
It
Thanks.
Yeah.
is indeed.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that was awful gushy
It
and
was, but that was
beautiful, and
so nice though, right?
it was. Yeah.
Well, let me ask, with that being said, um, like, do you guys feel like those are your superpowers? Like Shane, like what Clint and I talked about with you, do you feel those are your superpowers, or do you think you have other superpowers?
Okay, so this is exactly what I wrote down. Compassion, intuition, open-mindedness, and communication are my superpowers. I I
Nice.
I can also feel people's vibe or frequency, like through nonverbal communication. Like I don't care what's coming out of your mouth, like I still know what you're saying. Like you know, and
Yeah.
but poetry is my greatest gift, I feel like, and but it's how I remind others that they are equally special, and they also have immense value and superpowers, that we all do. Sometimes a lot of people forget, and reminding people that they're awesome. I'm awesome. Y'all are awesome. We're all awesome. But you know, I feel like
Yeah.
it's something I'm good at and I like to do.
You're good at it, man. And I think that's what, part of what makes it a superpower. You like to do it. You enjoy it, and it seems like that's kind of the maybe the secret behind, truly developing a gift or a superpower. And, I think maybe it depends on perspective. I know for me, like when I was thinking about like what my superpowers are, I was trying to think, what do I think it is? And like, what if people, mentioned? And, there's this, I guess you guys kind of described it as that resonating energy, but I have noticed that people have often said they feel like I have a healing energy, right? That they feel better, right, when I talk to them. I've noticed that, like in jobs, a lot of times, like years ago when I was working events, they would put me, we were, they'd put me to supervise like the mosh pits and stuff, because they're like, there's just something about you that de-escalates angry people. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, like I pull people out of the darker places in their heart and mind and lift them up. But, you know, also I thought about like the fact that it seems like I absorb information a lot. And, I, you know, I think that those things are related somehow, but I've also like this was what came up for me and Shane. Like, let me know if this like resonates for either of you. But I kind of felt like my superpower was my kryptonite too, right? Like, it was also the thing, these things like that draw of healing energy, people wanting to be around you to feel better means that people bring me a lot of their pain and absorbing a lot
Yeah,
of information means that sometimes like I have to get alone and I have to get where it's really quiet and dark because there's so much information coming in that it's just massively overwhelming to me. And so these things that seem to be, potentially my superpowers also sometimes cause me a lot of pain.
totally. I mean, it's contagious sometimes in those situations, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like we when you feel people and you know it you feel their pain, sometimes, and it drains you. Like remember that movie Green Mile?
Yeah, right. He had the gift, but
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like there was a cost. Like if he was going to use his magic,
totally.
there was a cost to him. And, that's kind of, when you look at like a lot of magic based lore and themes and stuff in sci-fi and fantasy, they always talk about like there being a price, like every gift has a price or has a cost
Yeah,
or something. And, it does seem like that there's an element of that, right? To use your superpower, like you also have to be really mindful of what that does to you and how
totally.
to take care of this vessel, this human body, literally, physically, like what you eat, what you drink, how you take care of yourself, how you rest, like to make sure that you're fit. We were just watching a show about surfers the other day, and like, they have to do that to use their superpowers. They train. But before we go into that, Shannon, what about you?
Yeah,
Well, I was actually just gonna add on to the superpower like kryptonite thing. Um, I think it's like it's I mean, it's almost like the Spider-Man thing, right? Like with great power comes great responsibility. Like your superpowers
totally.
can also
Yeah,
be what makes you a villain in a sense, you know, or, but I mean, even just like the fact that like you are constantly putting out good energy on those days where you're having a rough day, that negative energy spills out too. So it's kind of like a funny balance where you have to kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's both what's great about you, but it can also be like what hiccups your day,
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
you
But
know?
and it's why when I'm feeling bad, I want to just go hide. And I think it comes from this kind of innate knowing that like I don't want to hurt people with my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky balance, but that's life, right? The ebb and flow of everything.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
Um,
what are your what did you say about yourself, Shannon?
oh my gosh. I do take a lot of pride in how well I take care of like the people around me. Just like funny things. Like if I know you're coming over, like I will always have your favorite snack on hand, or I try to make sure everybody's got like their favorite things in the house, or try to anticipate what they could want, and and I do try to like really really just take care of everybody around me. And I do think the patience thing for sure. I do think I've got a lot of patience, but that is not like a hindrance. I don't look at that as like a bad thing. It's not like it takes a lot of energy out of me to be patient. It just is.
Native.
Yeah, it's just kind of,
Yeah,
how
maybe
I
that's why
am.
it's the superpower. You know how for me, like when I'm impatient, it's like I'm gonna die. And I can't help it. I'm like, I don't want to be like this, but I can't stand waiting.
I know, and that's where like I step in with you, right? Is like I try to pass my patience on to you, and I think we just drive each other crazy a little bit there. It's like, how can you be so flippant? Things aren't happening in the time frame I want, and it's like they'll happen, they'll happen. You need to calm
Yeah,
down.
that's another thing that I didn't write down, but I thought of. You're a believer, Shannon. You believe in people. I mean, actually,
Yeah.
you both do, but you like. I mean, you're. I mean, I don't know if you're all out, but I'm pretty sure you are sometimes. But in my experience, just the people that have gotten in the inner circle, like if they're there, they're there for a good reason at this point, and you're all in. All the
Yeah,
way down to the snacks.
right, for
Yeah.
sure. And then what you were saying, Shane, about or I guess you both were just seeing the unseen. Um, I I I agree with that because I feel like the people who are my friend, like, I have some friends that maybe some other people wouldn't really want to be around, or uh, maybe there's something about them that like irks them a little bit. But like I see the value in them as a person, and I think they appreciate that, and that's like why we're friends. And so it's like maybe, some of these other people in my life like don't get it, but it's like you don't have to get it. Like, I get it. So
Yeah.
I do try to like, yeah,
Yeah, that is true. It's beautiful. I can see it. I have what, people that, I think love being in your presence because they feel like they're accepted just for being who they are, you know? Like I know for me, even when we first met, that's one of the big things that drew me to you is, you know, for the first time, like, I bounced from community to community and, I'd lived all over, moving every 6 months and had this very kind of unstable life with the military and everything. And so every time I came somewhere, I was always the outsider, the person that, was different. I didn't know all the common intricacies and nuances of whatever group I was in. But with you, I didn't feel like I needed to. Felt like I could just be as I was, and you saw me there, and it was
mm,
really beautiful. So yeah, I definitely believe that's a superpower for you.
yeah,
But I also I agree with the superpower kryptonite thing because I do I do see the good in everything and everyone. Like the glass is always half full, and we're all broken. And you know, I just like I don't want to focus on the less than ideal anything or the bad stuff when there's so much good to focus on. But
yeah,
oftentimes in these situations, you know, I will let people Eve and people. Okay. Despite the fact that I can kind of feel things and like sometimes I don't listen to my own intuition and I will just see the good in someone, and it's caused me to get taken advantage of a lot in my life, to the point that my oldest son was like, Dad, you gotta find a balance between, you know, he's like, you're so focused in monk mode sometimes that you just see the only the good in people, and you need to get some of your street smarts back so you can see the full perspective, so you don't get, you know, hurt and or jammed up. And I was like, wow, that's
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
it's important. It's super
Yep.
important. Yeah, to
Yeah.
balance that.
So, you know, like as I'm thinking about this, right, and hearing us talk, it's interesting when you think about what the how the perspective of a superpower is derived, right? Like, what's my perspective of my superpowers? For me, it was those things that maybe I liked about myself, or I'm proud of myself for, or the things that I feel like, feedback has indicated that are my superpowers, even if I'm not fully aware of it. And you know, I feel like in an odd way, it is the superpowers that maybe we're not fully aware of that other people see that, maybe that is our superpowers, right? Recently Shannon, you and I have been watching that documentary, The 100-Foot Wave. And so, you know, world class athletes that are riding 100-foot tall waves, when they wipe out on these things, they're dislocating their elbow and getting thrashed against rocks, and the training and commitment that goes into it. And so you it would seem like at the surface you'd say, okay, well, their superpower is their ability to ride these waves. But if you watch the documentary and you hear the interactions between them and their friends, to me I feel like the real superpowers as their friends see them, it's not necessarily about the mechanic and skill of surfing. It's about like their commitment and their vigilance, or
Yeah, their
you know
perseverance. Like,
their perseverance, and these qualities of characteristics that people admire, in them. And it hit me. I'm like, maybe what your superpower is how you inspire other people.
Totally.
yeah,
I I agree. I mean, I think every person is born with like unique gifts. And I also believe that those unique gifts are designed for the benefit of creation, that's tied to something bigger than ourselves, and that our individual strengths are meant to contribute to the greater good. Um, I mean, it's beyond just our, like, for example, doctors and surgeons and medics. And Clint, I know that you were once, and these people, like, I was thinking about becoming a firefighter at one point in my life, because I have no problem like going into a burning building. It doesn't, you know. But when we had the conversation about, are you going to be okay going to car accidents and like children and stuff, and I thought about that, and there's no way. Like, I I can't. The people that operate on people and cut their heart open and stuff, like, that's a superpower that those people have, and that helps us all, because not everybody has that capacity.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, and I agree. And it really is inspiring. And for me, I did the EMT thing for a while, and then I was in the military. And I don't know if it was just a tolerance level or what, but I've really just got to this point where I just couldn't see anyone else die. Like I'd had enough. Like I'd had enough death. Like I'm like, I can't stop it all. I can't prevent it all. And I think in this weird way, like that's really what I believed I was doing, was trying to prevent it and stop it in any way that I could. But ultimately I just felt wildly ineffective, and so I changed courses. And I want to believe that somehow in some way what I'm doing, reaching out and trying to help leaders and build communities and get people to reconnect and see their power and you know step into their fullness, that leads to solutions that starts to like, remove the situations where, for war and for all this stuff, right? Like, because when you look at what's really causing, all of that stuff, it's not the war itself, it's what causes the war. It's the border fights, and it's the land wars, and it's people, not being able to agree on their ideas, or corruption in the governments and stuff like that. Like, all that kind of trickles down, and the result is death at large. And for me, like, that's what I wanted. I was like, look, can we find a way to stop this? Because it's one thing to be brave enough to want to go and defend your country and be a protector and be a defender. But at some point, if you realize that, it's going to be this endless supply line of things that you need to protect and save and stuff, like, at some point you go, isn't there a way to just like change it upstream, right? Can't we just stop the conditions that roll into that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay, I agree. Okay, and this is definitely what you're good at, is walking towards the light and helping other people see that that's the best direction, higher ground. But at the same time, back to the warrior in the garden, or the gardener in the war. There are these real things that are happening, like in Ukraine and stuff, like, and when it comes down to it, like, at the end of the day, like, sometimes, whether we want to or not, it's just a factor that we have to address and stand up for. And, you know, but, you know, it's not, these things are real. But taking the focus back to the, the awesomeness of our superpowers. I mean, you know, we have, we have to believe in ourselves, and we have dreams, and that can unlock our special abilities. And when we're little kids, we discovered these things that we're good at innately. And I really believe that believing in your gifts and your talents is a way to acknowledge your superpowers, and it's the purpose within you. It's like tapping into a source of energy that fuels you to move forward with confidence and resilience for the benefit of the collective. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I kind of along the lines of, I think, what Shane is saying too. Um, this is what I was thinking about when you guys were talking. Is I kept picturing like a football team, and a
yeah,
football team of all quarterbacks is not going to be a successful team. You have to have a diverse group of people who specialize in their positions to make the team work, and to work as like one unit. Um, and so I think you talking about like not wanting to, see any more death or war or anything like that, like, your position in this world maybe isn't to stop the wars, but maybe you're just supposed to be a light in the darkness during war times, or a shelter in the storm. That is your gift,
yeah.
is
I
to
mean, totally,
provide a safe place of of love and safety and peace.
Yeah.
totally. I agree with that, but I also feel like, even before it comes to that, you're helping people not even go there. you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I guess I see that, because to your point, like, it's what I believed I was fighting for, and I think that was one of the hardest things coming home from war. And, you know, seeing, like, here in the States, like, us fighting and the conflict and the corruption. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, does anybody realize how bad this can get if we don't learn how to get along? Like, if we don't learn how to work together and how to overcome our troubles and resolve our conflicts, and be be the kind of person who already exists in the world the way that you want the world to be. Like, be that person now. Don't wait for the world to change so that you can just be kind of forced into being that person. Become that person right now and start
Well,
living that way. And
it's the Gandhi quote. It's the Gandhi quote. Change you
yeah,
want to see in the world.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Absolutely. Be the change you want to see in the world. Don't wait for the world to change. Change in the world, and then you change the world. That's my belief.
Yeah.
That's my mission, right? Is
Yeah,
can
it
we,
is a mission. It's a
yeah,
responsibility. It's an obligation, you know?
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, to help to help each other up and forward and onward, uh it's important, you know, to when we can align our unique abilities um to help everybody around us step into their true potential, you know. Uh, and I feel like we're guided by something greater. It's that sense of purpose. It can be transformative and touch it can touch everyone. You know, the positivity can become contagious. You know, and
yeah.
like let's just focus on the things that we can control. You know, is kind of where I see it.
Yeah, and I think that, brings it back around to the superpower. Like, why is it interesting? Why, we've all got these superpowers, right? Like, and in my mind, like the way you just from my experience and what I've watched and populations and people and stuff, it's not about, I think, Jen, it's not about, to your point, like about trying to go and unwind something that has been winding up for 1,000 years, right?
Yeah.
But instead, what is that thing you love? How do you inspire people? What do you do in your day to day? Because for there to be something worth fighting for, what's worth fighting for is the belief that people could get up in the morning, put their shoes on, eat breakfast, enjoy what they're about to go do for that day, go do something that lights them up, energizes them, makes them feel productive and happy, and then get to enjoy the reward of that at the end of it and feel stability and freedom of choice and independence and all this kind of stuff. Like, and I think that that's, what I want to inspire people to do is live that best life because it is making the world better. It is giving us something worth fighting for, something to uphold, something to be proud of, something to, to build our dreams off of, right?
Yeah. I think that's pretty beautiful. You're using your superpowers for good.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
On the best of days.
Yeah.
the superpowers that every single one of us possess within, they're meant to shine, even when obstacles arise. Um, I mean, it. We have to trust in our special abilities. We have to be mindful or aware that we even have them, and know that we're equipped for the path ahead, and that our contributions are valuable to the world as a result. You know.
Yeah. Well, you said a thing about you have to know what your superpowers are. Um, what do you guys think is like if you don't know what your superpowers are, how would you go about figuring that out?
That is a really, really good question. I mean, it's a good question,
Yeah.
and it's exactly why we do the Find Your Path workshop every Sunday, right? It's literally we could call it Find Your Superpower. It'd be the same thing, right? It's to bring together people and start asking that question. I think for me to find your superpower, what what I what I believe has helped me find the things that generate the most results in my life, the most success, the most manifestation, the most, you know, whatever it may be, right? Strength to overcome. It feels good. There's this pull inside your heart, right? This little tug in there. And that if you can find out what it is that you love or what turns you on or invigorates you or creates a sense of enthusiasm in, and if you'll follow that like a thread and see where it goes along the way, you may think that you're going one place, but what happens I've found is that it's along the journey that you realize what your superpower is because your
Totally.
superpower, I believe, is the thing that will get you to exactly where you want to be in life. And to find it, you have to have an idea of exactly what you want in life. You don't have to be right about it. This is what's amazing to me is like when I was, for me to get from that point where I was homeless to where I was making a six-figure salary and all this stuff, the goals I had, the dreams I had, like when I was 20, like what I was going to do, the plan I had actually, like, in detail, it didn't turn out that way, but it was moving in that direction that I started to find where my strengths were because I was committed and I was passionate and I had, and I was invigorated. I wanted to, I wanted more. I wanted to be more. I knew that, my life didn't have to be me dying, homeless in the middle of nowhere, right? Like I could do something, there had to be a way. And if there was a way, if there was even just the slightest chance that I could be more, I was going to focus on it. So I focused on that growth. I focused on, wanting to unlock my potential. And, I went in the direction that seemed the best, that felt the best to me. And as I moved in that direction, I exercised, my strength. Like didn't I didn't finish public school after the sixth grade. So there was a point where I kind of thought I was stupid, right? But when I knew that I needed to move in a certain direction, I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna have to go to. I need an education. I need to go to school. I need to figure these things out. So I went and I, got a GED book and I took the GED and I got an SAT book and I studied the SATs and I started reading and I started learning and I got through college with almost a 4.0. Like, but it took me, having that obstacle, having that challenge in front of me, having a goal that I wanted to move toward and moving toward it to come up against the things that helped me grow and that helped me to understand my strengths. So for me, I think to answer your question, Shannon, like how do you find your superpower? First, you need to find out what you love and what do you want. Make a decision on what do you want to do in your life and start moving in that direction. I believe that it is that the journey along that path that will open it up. I mean, Shane, what do you think? Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And so a couple things. So a lot of what we're doing with evolving mindsets is, you know, I'll always say it, if we shine each other, we all grow. We are, think about all the great music that's ever been created that inspires us, or all the artwork, or all the things that all the awesome people have done that have inspired us and kind of lit our flame. Um, there are people out there that are unaware, that how that they're equally as valuable as every single other person on the planet. Um, and once your flame is lit, you got to help light as many others up as possible. But you're right. It's important to recognize that we're on a journey. And it's about growth and discovering our strengths and and overcoming the challenges. Every step, whether successful or if it's a learning experience, it refines our abilities and brings us closer to our purpose. And by using our superpowers, and we can make the a world a richer place, I don't know, a more vibrant place, and but we can inspire others to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I think, um, too, one way to, like, if you're not sure what your superpowers are, would be to just kind of stop and take a look at the people around you who you love and admire and ask yourself, like, what do you see their superpowers as? What is it about this person that you admire, and um, what are their hidden talents, and just it kind of gives you like a at least a roadmap of where to look within yourself. Can I do that? Can I not do that? Maybe my superpower is this, or and even if you're still confused, like the whole time you were talking, Shane, I kept thinking about, like, there was a period of time in my teens, like my grandmother was a very, very religious woman. And I was always like, I don't know. I don't know what's out there in the world. I don't know. And she always used to just say to me, until you find your own faith, I have enough for the both of us. And I really
Hmm.
feel like, in a funny way, in like our community, like if you're feeling like you don't know what your superpower is or what you want to be or the type of person you want to be, like it's a really good place to start, because I feel like those of us who are in the community right now, like we've got enough faith right now and a good handle on all that stuff. Like we can carry you while you figure that out. We can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I love that. Like it's so beautiful because when I think about the hero's journey from like Jungian philosophy and Joseph Campbell's work, like you
Totally.
know, there's the quest, right? And it really is. It's kind of what I'm saying. You need a quest, right? And it
Totally.
can be a real quest, a real heartfelt quest, not, something silly, or maybe it is something silly also too. That's fine. You need a quest, a purpose. But along the path, it says that you'll meet some friends, and it's that relationship with the friends is crucial, because as you start to understand what their superpowers are, and it defines more what your superpower is or what your growth is. And I think you're right, Shannon. It is, kind of the part of the inspiration behind evolving mindsets. I always loved this idea of this, like, the inn for traveling heroes, right? Like, it's a place to drop in where people are trying to find their superpowers. People are finding them, right? We're, helping to develop and helping to cultivate that. And, quite possibly you pop in and that's where the people you want to connect with are the people that are meant to be there on your journey, right? Maybe it's not specifically me or you or Shane, but it could be anybody in the community, because greatness draws greatness. And if you come and demonstrate your greatness and come, or define your greatness, you're going to find other people who are also looking for that. They're looking for the adventure. They're looking for, you know, what it is that breaks them free or opens their heart up or changes their paradigms, so that they can be successful. And we want to incubate that and grow that and allow people to, wake up into their full potential, because it's beautiful. You know,
Well,
is it difficult? Yeah, but it really is beautiful when you feel like you're stepping into your power.
no, yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not sure exactly like what the full saying is, but there's like the whole, or maybe it's just a theory, like surround yourself with people who have what you want and you'll
Yeah,
learn how to get it.
let's make each other better. Lift each other up. Let's bring out the best in one another for sure. Like, and also find like people that you look up to, respect or appreciate, like what are they doing, and how are they doing it, and be open-minded enough to try new things and see things from different perspectives enough to, I mean, being mindful.
Yeah. Well,
Go
hang
ahead.
on just one second. Say that one more time, because I didn't catch the last part there, Shannon, what you were saying. I just wanted to hear that.
Oh, I was just, it was just whatever the theory is or the saying is surround yourself with people who have what you want,
Yeah. It-
and it's, if you're not sure what you want, or if you're trying to find yourself, surround yourself with people who have found their self, or
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Go to where the success you want is happening, or those who are having that success, and go from there. And then I think, Shane, you were saying, like, right, it's the other side of that is realize that when people are coming in to the community, and that we're all trying to figure it out, and I think that's kind of the fun part of it for me is I know I don't have all the answers and I don't know everything, you know what I mean? But I know I've got amazing people, right? That I can ask a question to, and I can go, "Hey, what about this?" Or I was thinking this, and just get all of these great perspectives back that can save me like years of, individual work digging through books and trying to find out, some thing, you know what I mean? Instead, I can interact with a group of people who are trying to do the same thing I am and get their feedback and be like, "Yeah, look, here it is." I was on a community call a few weeks ago, and it was just fantastic. I opened up and was just like, "Hey, this seems to be something that's going on for me right now, and I don't really understand. I know that this is a challenge, and I know I need to overcome this, but I'm really trying to hit this mark, and I'm just not doing it. Does anybody have any thoughts. And it's, in this like faded way, there were three people on the call with me on this call, and every one of them had been through that experience, and they all had an individual story perspective of their experience. And not only did it help me by hearing that answer, but it also helped them, because I don't know if they had shared those stories with each other. And so like the whole group grew in our perspective and ability just by the question being asked.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's how you build friends in a community, right? If you find out where your connections are, what your common ground is, and that's, how you become really tight with people, and sometimes how you can understand yourself better is seeing how somebody else dealt with a similar situation, and it can really open your eyes to how you want to move forward with certain situations.
yeah, and totally to your point, Shannon, earlier about everybody having kind of their own thing that they bring. It's almost like a Dungeon and Dragons clan. You have like the wizard and the warrior and the thief, and everybody's bringing their unique thing for the benefit of the group, and then helping, giving everybody their space to be their authentic, awesome self, and bring their powers into the collective, um, but also helping each other feel that those powers are of value to the collective, and all of us, the realization of our superpowers and our gifts and talents and our purpose. It's a lifelong process, and every step forward, we have an opportunity to refine our gifts, and it brings us closer to the peak of our personal evolution. And by remaining mindful, evolving our mindsets, so to speak, we're not only attuned to what is special within, but also how our gifts can benefit everyone around us.
Yeah.
It's like the legacy that we can leave and or give back while we're here.
Yeah. And so, we've been talking a lot about kind of finding your own superpower. I want to ask if experience was similar for you, in the little exercise that we did. And I'd like to put this challenge out to any of our listeners, right? Get with a couple friends and do the same exercise. Everybody, make a little commitment to yourself. Write down what you think each other's superpowers are and what yours is, and share it amongst the group. Have this conversation with your friends, because for me, it was so it was just it was such a good feeling, like thinking about what your superpowers were, right? Like when I started thinking, you think about someone you care about, and you start to see their superpowers, like that feeling of the reasons why you love that person, why you think they're special, like what about them really gets you excited or inspires you, like getting to just think on those things, instead of thinking about, you know, what, as opposed, let me say this, because we still have to think about all the day-to-day stuff, but most of the time we're in the day-to-day stuff, we're thinking about where do I need to be, what do I need to do, did that happen, did this happen, and just kind of these mundane activities. But you take that moment to stop and say, and just remember, oh yeah, what 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 is it that I think is awesome about this person? It's pulling it out of that area in our brain where we take it for granted and bringing it up to the forefront, and it feels good. There is an instant gratification in the feeling that you'll have just concentrating on someone that way. And I wonder if that could be something that we could even use to mend relationships. So, if there's someone that maybe you're having challenges with, I essentially, this is how, for me, I was able to repair my relationship with my mom, and I feel like other relationships have, repaired, is to kind of focus on, just the better parts of it, right? Really make sure I'm complimenting and giving support. But for this exercise, like, could you think about the superpowers of the people you love and how good that feels? Could you maybe consider that even the people you don't love still have superpowers. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, and focus on these things. Our world has become so divided and competitive that we can't see, you know, some people are better than us in certain ways, and we're better than other people in certain ways. But okay, even the word better, like it, there's no competition here. Like let's appreciate and our uniqueness and the diversity, and uh, especially if it's righteous, right? And let's help each other build off of our individual awesomeness. If everybody comes with their strengths and can give that back for the benefit of all involved, like everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just the conversation that we started with was it was so uplifting, and it was fun, and it was a really positive experience, and it was really nice to hear like nice things about yourself. And
Totally.
I know I'm going to be thinking about that for a couple days and kind of, floating around on that. Like
Yeah,
it makes
totally.
you feel, yeah, everything that you guys said about me, I feel like really special.
It's
And
contagious. It's
yeah,
Yeah, let's love each other. we were
yeah,
Yeah.
called we were called to love, y'all. But we
yeah.
were just
And
called
Yeah.
to love.
I don't think we tell each other enough. You know what I mean? I don't think that
Yeah,
we
because people
call
are
out,
vulnerable.
yeah, I don't think we call out each other on the good stuff enough.
I so agree with that. I think that there just there's this like I've heard people refer to it as a negativity bias, right? It's like we just have or in tendency there's a tendency in I don't know if it's cultural or if it's just the times or what is it, but you know people don't compliment each other. It's interesting to me, like in the workplace. I've noticed this, right? I always promoted my employees. And when I say promote them, I'm not talking about just like position and job salary and increase and stuff like that. If that they needed to earn that, but every good thing that my employees did, I would, I wanted to brag about it. I would, write letters to my boss and be like, "Hey, look, this is what people did," and like always just kind of just point it out there because I realized that there was this massive void of it. People are always judging and kind of, they're quick to say what's wrong, and it's funny to me. It's like when someone comes to me and tells me what's wrong, like they always do it with this bravado that like, look at what I've discovered. I can point out something that's wrong. And I'm like, you know what? Everyone has that skill. Like that is not special. If you can notice what's wrong with someone and you can notice what's wrong with the world, not not a special talent, right? It does not give you any
Not
street cred
helping.
for me. Right.
Not
But if
helping.
you can notice what someone's doing well and you can notice what's working and you can notice a solution, now that's a skill and a talent, right? That I appreciate because that one will move things forward. It'll move the ball forward. But
Totally.
absolutely, like Shannon, you're so right. Like, you know, why don't we? Why don't we say these things more? We feel them. They're in us. They're there. But it's just like we forget, right?
Yeah, I think we do forget. And I think it's just sometimes it's just easier to pass on a bad message than it is a good message. I mean, there's so many times, like in the workplace or, with friends or family, where you'll hear somebody say, oh, they did such a bad job, or, gossip, gossip, gossip. But and then you'll take that and you'll send it back to the person and it'll be like, oh, so and so thinks so horribly of you, whatever example. But it's so
Yeah,
rare that somebody will come to you and be like, so and so did a great job. They're a good helper or they're a really great teacher. And it ends there. Like we never pass that on to the person. And I
No,
think, you know,
Clint did.
we should we should be passing it on. You know what I mean? Like I try whenever with the kids especially, if anybody says anything nice about them, I always try to tell them so that they know that like even if we're talking about them when they're not there, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and it's a more realistic worldview because it lets them know that, look, it's easy to believe that people are out there saying negative things about you,
Hmm.
especially if you don't have the evidence that people are out there saying good things about you. You don't have anything to combat it, right? You don't have the balance there, right? Because there will be. I mean, people are going to say bad things about people. It's going to happen, but yeah, I think you're so right. When someone compliments someone to you, definitely take that and share them. Say, oh yeah, so and so is really saying some incredible things about you. Like, it feels good. It's nice to be seen like that, right?
Yeah, it's lifting people up rather than tearing them down. It's so easy to tear somebody down.
Totally.
Everybody's got insecurities. Nobody, for the most
Everybody's
part, like,
broken
yeah, everybody's broken. Everybody
equally.
feels insecure.
Yeah,
Everybody's got the things about
they're
themselves
human.
that yeah, they feel super sensitive about. And it's so easy to pick up on that and run with it and just drive them into the ground and leave them a pile of depressed mush. And it takes the same amount of energy to put a positive spin to somebody, to say something nice. It's the exact same amount of energy,
Yeah,
you know, but
I
you
mean,
get a better return, that the positive energy will get passed.
yeah,
there's definitely some intent that goes into this, and what we choose to focus on, and in the modern world, I mean, especially in America, like, man, it's the norm has become to be hateful and judgmental and jealous and all of these things. But even then, like, we just have to, like, let it roll off and just love each other, and there's keeping our minds, and this goes back to me just seeing the good in people. It there's there's something in there, just seeing the good in everything and everyone. It's a miracle that we're here, and we all have something, despite our nature and nurture and how things might have turned out. Like, we still have the opportunity to help other people transcend and perpetuate love and prosperity, and inspire each other, and you know and that is the most constructive way forward. Like, the best way to forever is together, and helping each other realize that we have these special gifts and these special powers that we all need from each other. Like like essentially, we're cultivating the seeds within ourselves, that are allowing us to bear the fruits that become a part of the foundation that others can build upon. And our unique gifts, they live on through the lives we touch and create a lasting impact. When other people realize that we're awesome, but they are also awesome, it will help them in a contagious, positively contagious way, keep magnifying the light and helping us find our way out of the darkness, like of times like these, the dark ages again.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It makes me think, as you're saying this stuff, ooh, thinking about everybody having superpower. What can we do? And you mentioned a comment, like a comment, made a comment a moment ago about using it for righteousness, and I think it's totally possible that you could use your superpower in, I don't know, even a heinous way. It's absolutely happened. I mean, there's examples all over the world of just people who have done, incredibly, terrible stuff. But what's interesting to me is this idea that we all have a superpower, because when you think about like superhero movies, you have the Avengers or whatever it is, right? There's always a select group of people who have the power, but then there's the rest of humanity that doesn't, and like, if you look into the lore of like science fiction and fantasy, you'll see these powerful races. You have the orcs, or they're, goblins or whatever, that's villainous, and then you'll have like elves and dwarves, and they're always like sanctimonious. But people's view of humanity in those things, we always see human as the people who have no power other than their endurance and drive to survive and succeed, and it's interesting that paradigm, because it's like there's almost this common belief that we don't all have superpowers, you know, and I don't really know why that is. Like, why do we separate ourselves from the capacity for greatness? Is it because that if everybody's truly great, then there's nothing that sets us apart from each other? But I think it's the uniqueness of our experience that sets us apart, right? But I don't think that there's a cap. I think we can all be as great as we want to be.
I totally agree. We're socialized into our systems and our countries and our governments and stuff. And there's an order, and it's been established that there has to be an order. And in a lot of ways, like the leaders, it's not like Jesus is the president and stuff like that, So uh, there's a there's something that the greed factor that to exploit and control, to hold everybody down, and so that they don't realize if everybody realized that God is within us and that we have this supernaturally charged gifts and powers, um, you know, it would be more difficult to maintain order, you know?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. It feels like that's the thought, is that if that there wasn't a suppression upon us, that, some controlling force doesn't want us to truly know, because if we truly knew, then, we would be dependent on them. But what's interesting to me is, like, when I'm been working with like senior leaders and stuff, even in the places where, corruption is apparent, nobody's really thinking that. It's actually the fact that they're not thinking. It's neglect. Most
Totally.
corruption, as I found it, really, really bad corruption, is honestly a series of neglect. It's just people over focused on, their own specific goal to the detriment of others, is a lot of it, right? It's not really about suppression. It's just neglect, right? But so I think about that same thing, and I feel like it might even be those ideas that hold us back. The idea that something out there is suppressing us. Well, I think that if you hold on to that idea, and you hold on to that, there's this unknown person or unknown group of people or unknown power or unknown something that's just keeping you down. If you're willing to accept that as part of your reality, it's going to be harder for you to hit your superpower. It's going to be harder for you to unlock it, right?
Now,
In my experience, I had to just believe that it didn't matter who out there did or didn't want me to utilize my own gifts. It was my choice to do it,
let's
right?
break this
And
down.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Let's break this down scientifically. You told me an experiment that was done with fleas. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, like when they're training fleas for the flea circus, right? That a flea can naturally has like a 36-inch vertical or something. It can jump like 3 feet high. But if you'll put fleas in a jar or a box container that's only 12 inches high, what will happen is the second generation of fleas will jump to the lid, but they'll never jump higher than that, because, of course, they don't want to smash themselves on the ceiling. And they see that everybody else is only jumping 12 inches high, so they'll just jump that height. And then when you take the lid off, they'll never jump higher than 12 inches, because they've been conditioned to think that that is as high as they can or should jump, right? But they can jump higher, and to that point, it the conditioning is what made the belief in the flea. It doesn't mean that the flea doesn't have the ability. It can still do it.
And that's what we're talking about here, though, right?
Yeah,
Well,
100%, right?
that's so much like we've had that conversation many times about the first person to run a mile in under 4 minutes. It was believed for so long that it couldn't be done. And then it just took like the first person to do it. And then all of these people came after and could do it suddenly and could even do it quick, faster than that. It was
Yeah.
like it just takes that first person to go, "What? I bet we could do it,"
Well,
you know?
yeah. And think, look, I mean, just like from the documentary we just watched, the 100-foot wave, right? Garrett McNamara, he went and found this crazy wave and, ended up inventing all of these things, right, to accomplish this. And once he did, now they have like contests every year where there's lots of people coming and doing this, and they're, he broke a barrier and people followed. And I think that's what we want to do too. We you know we want to break barriers. We want to break our own barriers. We want you out there listening to come break your barriers and show us what humanity's capable of, because then we will jump out of the flea circus. We will realize we have a 36-inch vertical and we can rise much higher than we are. And it really doesn't matter if there's anybody out there suppressing us, right? It doesn't matter if there's people out there that don't want it, because that's not their choice to make. It's our choice.
Yeah.
That's why we believe in
I
ourselves
love
and
it.
we lean into it. We have faith and trust in whatever created us and got us here. And it's between that and the person in the mirror. And really, that's where I believe our focus should be, instead of like pointing fingers at each other and, being jealous or whatever, or measuring ourselves against each other. Like, no, like just like Ralph Waldo Emerson said, let's toil the plot of land that God has given us to till. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
let's be who we are and let's bring it. I'm definitely never, ever going to break any mile records. I actually, maybe I ran a mile. The last time I ran, it was like 13 minutes. That might be a record. But you know what I'm saying? But I mean, but back to like being mindful of what I'm inclined to do my whole life, the things that come most natural and native to me. Been writing poetry since I was a little kid. When I first learned how to write, I do that, and I keep
Yeah.
working on that. The things that I enjoy and I'm good at, I do that. And let's help each other do those things, because those things that we all can do, it's sustenance that we can feed each other with, and the grand miraculous feast of and celebration that this life is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking, years ago, I started writing a book called, I call Pathfinder, because people had asked me a lot about like, what was it that really got me through, like, how did I do all the things that I did? And so, I've been working on writing that down so that people could learn from it and stuff. But when I wrote the book, it was so clear to me that the first thing that I had to say is it all starts with a decision, right? It all starts with that moment and where you go, I think I can do more. I want to do more. Actually, I'm going to do more. There may be a question, a series of questions, a life event, whatever it is that gets you to a deciding point, but it's not the question, it's the decision. It's the decision to go, I want to see how far I can go. I believe there's more. I believe I can reach a new height. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to put my all into it. I'm going to put my heart into it. And if you can get to that decision point where your passion aligns with your beliefs, you can do anything. I firmly believe that.
It takes mindfulness. You can't be complacent. You have to take action, and it takes keeping your eye on the ball. Like you have to stay focused. There's a lot of distractions in the world. It's a tsunami of just, like, I don't
Yeah,
know. There's just
absolutely.
there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things going on, but we got to keep it simple, stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you have to be willing to, climb without the stairs there, right? Like you think about and this is why I called it Pathfinder. To me, it was about finding the path where the path isn't established, right? Like, it's real easy to walk up a set of stairs with a guardrail because someone made that path for you. Someone made that way, right? It's a road that's been, traveled many times. But if that path doesn't take you where you want to go, you might just have to walk out into the forest or climb the mountain or be the first to figure out how to, make it to where you want to go. And you'll use any opportunity to get closer, and that's how we learn. That's how we, there's a level of experiment to it, and there's a level of just being willing to know, like, look, okay, this is what I see as the best step forward. I'm going to try it. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to go for it, and you go for it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you have to have that decision, that commitment behind you that goes, okay, that didn't work. Well, I'm going to try this a new way. I'm going to take a different approach to this, but I'm just going to keep focusing into this and learning and growing because I know it's possible. I want it to be possible, and I believe it is possible. So I'm going to go for it.
I mean, it in our DNA, intelligent design, message in the bottle style, we have a mission, and it's to bear our gifts and our superpowers, and fulfilling that potential isn't just for our own personal satisfaction. It's something that can ripple out into the world and offer nourishment, inspiration, and wisdom. And in that, as all of the greats that have ever lived, that got us here, and we're no longer caveman as a result, our life becomes a source of abundance. And this way we can contribute to a larger circle of life, that's inclusive of everybody's awesomeness,
Yeah. Man, I love
I
that.
think I think to like unlock your like greatest potential, you first need to understand that like you have value and you have worth. And I think as soon as you
Totally.
do that, like you can hit the ground running and you'll create this path and you'll have this journey. And who knows, this journey that you're on may inspire somebody else
Totally.
to take it to
Yeah.
the next level and do something
You may
greater.
break that barrier that lets everybody, that creates a path of least resistance for everybody to follow. Right. And that's how I think we get to the world that we want to live in. And that's kind of why coming back and wrapping it all around and up, right? Doesn't matter who does or who doesn't have superpowers or who is or who isn't trying to control it. You've got a choice within yourself.
Totally.
Make that choice to follow your passions, and the world will improve through that effort. So, well, guys,
that's what we're designed. That's what we're designed to do.
Yeah,
specifically designed to do.
Man, I've loved this conversation. I hope that anyone listening has also loved it. And I think as we bring this to a close, Shannon, I don't know if you have some quotes ready for us. If you do, love to hear them. And then Shane, I always love to have you close us out with a poem. And while they're getting that ready, if anyone wants to take a moment, you leave us a comment. Let us know what you liked about this episode. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And more than anything, what's your superpower? What do you think your superpower is? And if you don't know, come check out Evolving Mindsets. It's evolving-mindsets.com. Join our Find Your Path workshop on Sundays, and let's find out what your superpower is.
I love it.
All right, Shannon. Yeah. What do you got for us?
Okay. Lena Waithe says, the things that make you different are your superpowers. This one's unknown, but I like this one. Your superpower is your ability to recognize the magic within yourself.
Oh, wow.
Real superheroes don't wear capes. They show up as passion, perseverance, and empathy. Marie Forleo, I believe is how you say it, says the world needs that special gift only you can provide.
Yeah, I believe that. Totally.
This one, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher this last name. Leo Buscaglia says, your talent is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God.
Totally.
Oh,
I
wow.
really
that
liked
sums up
that one a
everything that I
lot.
just tried to say. Yeah. Good job.
That's a banger right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right.
Well, good. We'll leave it there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. All right, Shane, what do you got for us? You want to close us out?
I might have something. All right. While on this planet perching, the soul can't stop searching while on this planet perching. We must explore a higher form to rise above the worthless norm. For all this glitter will be dust, and all that shining soon will rust, and one day we are sent away. But we have a mission during our stay to spread as much love as we can to the living, especially the human. We each have powers, special gifts that we should share to help uplift each other through the blue sky lit by God, as should be you. That's all I got.
It's
Oh,
beautiful, man.
I like that a lot.
Powerful, brother.
Wow.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And thank you all for listening and joining in. Love to hear from you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys if you drop by the community. All right. Have a great evening. And until next time, this is
Good night, y'all.
Code. Good night.
Bye. Love y'all.
Gonna find your path, gonna lead the way, strike through the storm, never go astray. Always the truth and let your spirit roar. You're a force of nature, crash upon the shore.